Hi, friends. My name is Luciano. I make content on the internet. Very specifically, I like to make videos on the internet. In today's video, we are going to be doing something very different from what we normally do. But if you are a first time viewer, I'm delighted that you've decided to stop by and make me a part of your day. And if you are a returning viewer, I'm so happy that you decided to make me a part of your day once more. Today, instead of talking about jump chains and jump chain related contents like choose your own adventures or anything like that, I wanted to talk about a topic that I find very fascinating and some YouTubers whose content I really like. So, we're going to be talking about nostalgia today. And nostalgia is something that is a little bit tricky to define, but it's essentially a sense of a passive positive association with a time and place in the past, particularly one that has close personal associations with whoever is viewing or thinking about the nostalgic thing in question. I am really fond of nostalgia farming content on YouTube. I watch a lot of it, and I don't say nostalgia farming with any sense of negativity or anything like that. I find this content eminently rewatchable, and I really enjoy watching YouTubers who create content that is based around the concept of nostalgia. I have seen hours of nostalgic shorts, and while some of them make me laugh, we are going to be taking a second to watch some of the videos that they have made and to talk about them and to see how they make me feel, and also hopefully to see how they make you feel. I will be crediting the people who create the videos in the video themselves. I'll be doing the slightest edit so that way people know who made them, and also so that way people can go and support those channels if they want to. Let's go ahead and get started. That was a video by Your Past Reality, hands down my favorite nostalgic content creator. I think that what I want to do with this video is I want to do two videos by each of the three people that I am going to be covering in this particular video. And they're all going to be short, so they're all going to be like real short form content. But I think Your Past Reality is, in my opinion, the GOAT of nostalgic video making. But I will say that there's something very American coded about these kinds of videos, which makes sense. YouTube is primarily American in terms of its audience and stuff. But as someone who grew up in Latin America, there was a lot of little things that I didn't particularly associate with my childhood that I saw there. Although I do know that there are other Hispanic people who grew up in South and Central America who would see that stuff and be like, "Oh yeah, that was me. That was where I was raised." So I think it's very amusing to look at it and then to also read the comments, which we're not going to be doing in this particular video. But I do hope that that really helps set the stage for the sort of content that you should expect to see here. Not all of it is going to look exactly like that. In fact, some of the other videos are going to look very different, but they're all going to be little shorts. They're all going to be around a minute in length. Usually less than a minute in length. So we're not going to be focusing too much on lots of different long form content, but you certainly can find longer videos that are just people stitching together nostalgic things for the views. And as someone who will give them the views in question, if they do that, let me say I, for one, appreciate it. So as you can see, those were videos by Your Past Reality. Your Past Reality is fun for people who like nostalgic content because in addition to having a YouTube channel, they also have an Instagram and a Spotify, and they do make music content as well that I really like. So they really are just an all-in-one content provider, which is kind of nice. You don't always get to see that kind of thing on YouTube. But as you can see there, there's even more American codedness. As someone who was raised in South and Central America, one of the big things that really struck out to me was how different the architecture was from the sorts of houses that I associate with my childhood. I lived in the United States for part of the time when I was a kid. So I actually did get to see houses like that. But a lot of the architecture that I'm used to is very different, especially because I lived in cities in Latin America as opposed to living in places that were more rural and undeveloped. So it was very interesting to just sort of look back and to see that content and to remember my own childhood. The sheer amount of concentrated USA, USA, USA in that video made me laugh. It made me want to go and order an all-American meal, like something from McDonald's or Bojangles. But now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our next nostalgic YouTuber. So that way we can go and see what other people get up to when they're creating content like this. That was our first video by our second YouTuber, The Theory Hub. I really like The Theory Hub, although if you go through The Theory Hub's channel, you will very quickly start to see the nostalgic content creator to liminal space pipeline in real time, which is a very funny thing that I know I'm not the only person who's noticed, just because people have pattern recognition skills. And if you like one of the YouTubers that I'm talking about in today's video, there's a very real chance that you've either heard of the other YouTubers or you would like their content once you have started to see it. It is so fascinating to me to actually watch that specific video, which is also not the most recent video that this person's uploaded to the best of my knowledge, although this one might be, because I actually have difficulty with color in like my vision. So to see the things go from being like, oh, this is how the world looks right now to this is how the world looks in your memories, that actually was me in a very real, literal sense. I do remember colors being more vivid and bright and intense. So to see someone take that and put it into a YouTube video feels like such a call out. It is endlessly funny to me to go and watch that video and to rewatch it. And while I've been recording this video, I've actually been taking a look at the different videos that I have queued up, and I've been watching and rewatching them. So it's a little funny to go and see that. Another thing that I thought was amusing was the like party place partway through the video. I don't remember ever seeing any of those party places in the parts of Latin America that I grew up in, although I wouldn't be surprised if they exist. So to see that and to be like, oh, this is what the world looked like to you as a kid, I'm just like, is it? Is that what the world looked like to me as a kid? And I say that as someone who actually did go to a party in one of those party places. I went to a birthday party for a friend of mine when I was living in the United States as a middle schooler, because my family is military. And so because of that, we moved between Latin America and the American Bible Belt pretty regularly. I spent about 9-ish years in both places. So I actually had a very even-handed experience between growing up in the United States and growing up in Latin America, although my memories of Latin America tend to be the ones that are more vivid and intense to me looking back. This video of all the ones that we've seen so far is the one that personally hits the hardest. I have strong emotional associations with all three of those things. I was in a car crash a couple of years ago that happened during a rainy late night drive with a friend. And that car crash is one of the single most life-altering events that has ever happened to me. But before then, when I was a college student, going on late night car drives was something that filled me with an incredible sense of joy. I live in Greensboro. I love Greensboro. There's nothing in the world to me quite like the sight of Greensboro at night. I don't really care for the rain, so that part's like indifferent. But the late night drives, oh, that hits. Moving forward from that, I really like the sensation of finding an old song that you used to listen to. I have social anxiety, and it's no longer quite as acute as it was when I was younger. But when I was younger, I would go everywhere with headphones in. Even if I was listening to music on my iPad and it was just in my backpack and I had headphones in, it was something that allowed me to feel a lot more in control. It allowed me to relax significantly, and allowed me to be more present in the moment while not having to live in fear of something like a panic attack or something like that happening to me. So the sensation of finding music, that coupled with the fact that I moved around a lot, so music was one of the things that I could rely on, even when I couldn't rely on the friendships that I had made to last more than a year or so. This is something that really grounds and makes music very important to me. I hate to try and talk about the positives of the vid. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want this video to be demonetized the second that it would otherwise be able to become a monetizable video for me, although I doubt that it will be. But during the vid, the streets were empty and the world was a very different place. For some disabled people, especially disabled people who are physically disabled like I am, there was a short period of time wherein society was much more accommodating and things were a lot more virtual and remote. And as a consequence of this, the streets were empty and there was a lot of other stuff that was going on, and it wasn't all negative. Now, obviously, it was very negative in ways that matter, but as a physically disabled person, that was one of the first times the society felt even remotely accommodating to me. And it obviously wasn't intentional, but it's still remembering the time during the vid is definitely an interesting experience, because there are plenty of disabled people, especially physically disabled people, who have memories that are not just incredibly heartbreaking during this time. So thinking back to that is something that's very interesting to me as a physically disabled person. So now you've seen the first video by Nostalgic, which is the last YouTuber that we are going to be highlighting in today's video. I do want to go and give a minor shout outs to someone whose YouTube channel is worlds bigger than mine, but his name is Greg Bro Dude Man. His videos are actually the inspiration for this video. Very specifically, he has a series where he takes a look at like different forms of media and highlights some of them. Like he's done stuff like liminal spaces, he's done different fears like thessallophobia or megalophobia, and he'll take a look at media that is inspired by that particular thing, and then he will highlight videos that have been created by creators in those spaces. And that was something that I wanted to do here, which is the reason why I'm doing this video. But it was because of him that I had this idea. I really like Nostalgic's video. I think it's interesting to go and take a look at that very Americanized and very American-centric idea of childhood again. But I thought it was fun to take a look at all of the architecture and the different things that so many people across the United States and across other places as well have associated with childhood, that brings up childhood memories and things like that. And now we're going to go and take a look at our last video for today. So let's go ahead and do that. So did that stir up memories of your childhood in 2015? I think that it was so interesting that it was like that specific because I was a child in the late 1990s and early 2000s, and that's the sort of memories that I associate with summers in the United States. I have very distinct memories of like water fights and water and like those little fill up pools that you can like inflate and stuff. I am looking at all of that and I'm definitely remembering at least a few of my summers. And I was not a child in 2015. In 2015, I was a full college student. I was absolutely partway through my time as an undergraduate student at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So seeing that date definitely made me feel like an old. It was very interesting. But I really enjoy nostalgia content. I think it's so fascinating to look through it and to see what sort of stuff people remember from their childhood. I also really enjoy diversifying the sort of content that I create. I think that doing this little compilation and showing you guys a different side of YouTube than maybe you're used to has been something that's been a lot of fun. I do hope that in the future, if I do a series like this again, or if I do another video like this, I do hope that I am able to do. I'm hope that I'm able to have more incisive commentary. But honestly, this was really just an excuse to share videos that I really enjoy and to highlight the work of people that, if you watch me, you're probably not super familiar with. I hope that you have enjoyed taking a look into the past as determined by these particular content creators who have a very Americanized view of history, but it's definitely still been very interesting. I know that I have enjoyed sitting down and compiling all of these videos and offering a little bit of commentary between each one. I definitely think that there are YouTubers who are better at creating nostalgia stuff than others, and there is a very real nostalgia creator to liminal space creator pipeline that you will definitely notice if you go onto, I think, any of these three channels, as well as other channels by other nostalgia creators, because these aren't the only ones. These are just the three that I remember the most strongly. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. If you guys saw parts of your childhood in these videos, let me know. I would be thrilled to know what other experiences people have had and to see if anyone else can relate to these videos as much as I can. Anyways, that is going to be all for me for today. I can't wait to talk to you guys again in the future. Bye-bye, everyone.